Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today, I have a horrifying upload to start the day off with. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. Folks, please share this video. And last but definitely not least, leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's horrifying upload, shall we? Alright guys, so about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I shared with you the very first time a subscriber in the area of Bumpus Mills reached out to me. And unfortunately, her incident was absolutely horrifying. She lost two of her beloved pets, family members, two beautiful Rottweilers. And she has kind of kept me in the loop of the strangeness that is going on in that area. Now, if you're not familiar with Bumpus Mills, Tennessee, it is located on the outskirts of the L.B.L, or land between the lakes. There is a waterway, Lake Barkley, or as Don Coleman Jr. calls it, Lake Barclay. And that's where I get it from. Sometimes I say that. That leads into the L.B.L. And her brother-in-law is a local gunsmith in the area. And has a small, little gun store where he sells firearms. Not a big store, but just a small store. And because of him and Sharon, they escaped with their lives. Well, there had been a lot of other weird things happening. There was the believed Dogman that had killed her beloved Rottweilers was found dead in a clearing just on the inside area of Bumpus Mills. I guess these contract type people came in. Definitely not your everyday run-of-the-mill military. They were not in uniform. These guys were just wearing just regular jeans, flannels, baseball caps. But they were in some very expensive black SUVs. Excuse me. I've only spoken to Sharon about this matter. Today, around 6:30, I get a text from her, and she says, "Can I share your number with my brother-in-law? He'd like to talk to you." I said, "Absolutely." I was working on last night's second half, which was an amazing upload. And I said, give me a half hour, please. And roughly 45 minutes later, I get a phone call. And he shared with me a very, very terrifying experience. And the reason why it is any experience when you are very close to one of these creatures is terrifying. Actually, any experience, just a sighting, you know. But when you see more than one, more than two, more than three, it gets a little, it ups the ante, if you know what I mean. And I said, well, do you mind if I record this? And he said, no, I don't want you to record this. Don't use my name, but write it down. I'll take my time and try to explain everything to you. And that's exactly what I did. And this is what occurred 2 days ago in Bumpus Mills, Tennessee. So a couple of days ago, these 3 local teenage boys, late teen, early 20s boys, were going to their local fishing hole. Now, to get to that local fishing hole, you have to park at Knott Cemetery. And there's a kind of trail that brings you to Lake Barkley. Now, Knott Cemetery is off of Antioch Road. Then you hit Knott Cemetery Road. And the trail to Lake Barkley from the cemetery, from the area where they parked, is roughly 1,500 feet. So just shy of a quarter of a mile. They get out of their car, park, and they notice large prints on the ground. And one of the kids puts his hand above these kind of paw prints in the dirt. And it is almost double the size of his hand. Now, these guys have grown up here. One of them is they're all avid fishermen, for fun, obviously, but one is an avid hunter. His dad is, pretty much lives and breathes hunting. Goes out of state to hunt. Pays a lot of money to hunt. One of these kids is pretty wealthy. And so they notice these prints, multiple prints, different sizes, but they are all very large, kind of scattered throughout the cemetery region and going down this trail. It's not a game trail, it's an actual trail. They then take the roughly quarter-mile walk. It's a little shy of a quarter mile, but they get to their fishing hole. Now, as they're walking out of this trail, there's kind of a clearing, and then straight ahead is Lake Barkley. So they get middle of the clearing, which probably is 200, maybe 300 feet, the clearing, from the edge of the wood line to the lake. And they look north, looking into the L.B.L, or the land between the lakes. And what they notice is 8 to 10 quadruped animals kind of loping in this field. He said one of the kids said that they thought they were lions. Apparently one of the kids, he said, it looked like a scene like we were in Africa. These things were huge from almost the distance to the car away, 1,500 feet, somewhere between 12 to 1,500 feet. And these things are just playing. They're north of where these kids are. They see different sizes, but they are all very large. So one of the kids, and I'm only saying kids because, yes, they are late teenagers, but early 20s. But this is what Sharon's brother-in-law said to me. And, I'm 46, going to be 47 this year. So anybody below that in their early 20s is a kid to me. And one of the guys says, WTF are those? And apparently these creatures heard them because they kind of stopped and they got close. They were spread out, just loping around, 2, 3 playing, and they kind of corralled into each other. And at that point, they see this one kind of walk out of that corralled area. All 3 of the kids just take off running towards their car. They're in fairly good shape. They're young men. They're, the way he explained it, they're your average teenager. Played sports in high school, probably didn't smoke cigarettes. So they're in fairly good shape, and they take off running back toward their car. This creature that they spot starts to run towards them. Mind you, this creature, to get to where they are, has to run 12 to 1,500 feet. And then the kids are running that amount, about that distance to their car to get back to the cemetery to get into their car and head out. So this creature has to run double of what these kids are running. Now, as they're running down this trail, one of them, they're cursing, yelling, what the heck is going, what are these things? Why are there lions in America? That was one of the most keyed in things this guy kept saying to me, is these 3 kids, for the first couple of minutes of this experience, because this experience did not last very long. So they're quite certain that they are getting chased by some sort of African lion. And they get to the cemetery, and they have their gear in their hand. They have their fishing rods, their tackle. They drop their stuff to get into the car very quickly. They're not worried about their fishing gear. They're in a fairly new mid-sized car. Not an SUV, but a car. And when this creature catches up to them and they are in the process of taking off, they all look, and there was seconds, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. That's how fast this thing was. It ran double the amount of area these young men ran, and was still pretty much on top of them. they're in their car, and they said the description that the one guy, the kid, said to Sharon's brother-in-law is that the creature's top of the head was almost to the top of their window. It was absolutely huge. And that's at that point right there, they realized that this thing was not a lion. What they saw was these hellish red eyes. And he said, the description that he gave Sharon's brother-in-law is they were a hellish red with a human-like intelligence to them. It didn't look like an animal. It looked like there was very much intelligence, very much human intelligence in those eyes. So they notice also that it's got a snout around 10 to 12 inches long snout. They punch it out of there because now this is freaking them more out. At first they thought this thing was a lion. I mean, they're already messed up and mentally having a heart attack because they're now thinking that there are lions just outside of their hometown and just outside of the land between the lakes until it's right there. And then they realize that this myth that they heard of these creatures that lurk in the L.B.L. is real, very much so. They punch it down the Knott Cemetery Road, and it is running quadruped next to the car. He didn't tell me how fast they were going, but it was running right aside of their car. And it would look at them and look back at the road, look at them, look straight ahead. As they pull out onto Antioch Road, this creature stands up, and from what they could make out when it stood up, their guesstimate was 9 feet, possibly more. And they heard this kind of howl roar. It was not a howl like a wolf. It was not a howl like a coyote. It was more or less a roar. Almost a demonic monster roar. The kid told Sharon's brother-in-law that the sound this creature made did not look like it should have come from that creature. It looked like it was just so loud and powerful. And even in the vehicle, as they were driving away, it reverberated into their body. They got out of there. And he drops his friends off. I don't know. At that point, I don't know. And Sharon's brother-in-law doesn't know if they went back for their fishing gear. More than likely, they didn't. That wasn't mentioned during the conversation. So why this young man is talking to Sharon's brother-in-law is because he apparently went in to get some ammunition, not to hunt this creature or hunt these creatures with. He strictly usually has a Taurus Judge, which is chambered in 45, 410. It can shoot both rounds. he uses it as his, gun to take while fishing, hiking, whatever. It's actually a great kind of little firearm to have with you if you're hiking or whatever. And he goes to get some rounds, some ammunition. Well, when he gets to the shop, Sharon's brother-in-law is listening to Dogman experiences. I don't know. I'm assuming mine, but maybe not. I'm not going to be so arrogant. And it doesn't really matter who he was listening to in my eyes, because at least he's gaining information. As he's in the shop, he's hearing what he's listening to. This kid is hearing what Sharon's brother-in-law is listening to and says, "Do you believe in these things?" And Sharon's brother-in-law looks right at him and said, "Yeah, we have him in our town." And then the young man tells him, Sharon's brother-in-law, what occurred a couple of days back. And the scariest part of this whole thing, and this is what her brother-in-law shared with me, and I agree with him 100%, because in my head, that's exactly what I was thinking. The scariest part about the whole experience, minus narrowly getting away, is that there is a small pack of these creatures in this area. And how he explained the multiple sizes, and when one of the young men said, "WTF are those things?" they instantly heard these kids say that, and just corralled in together to protect themselves. But it was pack mentality, which shows intelligence as well, going right together. People may fight that, saying, well, cows do that too. But, in my eyes, if they are playing and loping around and then they do it, that to me shows intelligence. And then the one that came out of that little pack and ran double the amount of distance these young men ran, and was still at their car door as they got. It was so fast that they knew there was no debate. They just dropped their gear. Not by the car, but well before they got to their car. So they knew they could get in, because they knew this creature was on their asses. And then to think this whole time, imagine how crazy that is. Imagine how scary. First and foremost, you're there, you're having a good time, you're getting amped up, you're with your friends, your buddies, you're going to go fishing, it's a beautiful day. And you see what you think is a pack of lions, a pride of lions. Instead, at the end of all of this, you then realize that the Dogman and all of the lore and myth that you've heard surrounding the land between the lakes / L.B.L. is real. It just, all of the information and all of that experience those young men went through is terrifying, from the point they realized they were not alone in that clearing. Imagine if they hadn't looked. Imagine if they looked straight ahead instead of looking north into Lake Barkley. I believe the Cumberland River is right there as well. But imagine if they hadn't looked north. Imagine if they just went and proceeded to go about their day. And they, of course, being young men and getting set up to fish, you know, young men having fun. I mean, we're loud. Even at my age, you put two people my age and out in the woods and, you know, it's a beautiful day and we're going to have fun. We're going to be loud. But if they hadn't looked north or up into the land between the lakes, they wouldn't have seen these things. And these things could have came down very quickly, obviously. Stalked them, and a second later, that's the scariest part of it all, is a second later, if they hadn't looked and kept their attention north, if there had just been 1 second difference, or more, obviously, 30 seconds difference, that experience wouldn't even be getting shared right now. But for some reason, they felt they needed to look up north, needed to look up into the L.B.L. It's the rationalization of all of this stuff that must be sitting in this young man's brain right now is incredible. I told Sharon's brother-in-law to, you know, share my number with them if they'd like, or this young man if he'd like to talk to me. Not even do an interview. If he'd just like to talk, to, you know, get it off his chest. But, you know, you've got something that you think is a pride of lions, and it runs double the speed you do in a dead takeoff. And then you realize that the stories, the monster stories you heard as a young child growing up in the area is now true. That these creatures roam the forests of America. Not only the whole country, but the area where you live. It blew me away. It really did. Just because the narrowly getting away, you know, I've stated it a million times. Be hyper vigilant of your surroundings. But to have all this stuff on your plate at such a, you know, couple years older than me when I had my first encounter. But to first think, these are lions. What are lions doing? We need to get out of here. What are those? And then you watch the intelligence, and then as you're in your vehicle, this thing looks into your car, virtually eye to eye. Because if the top part of its head is even with the top part of the window, where do you think its eyes are? The eyes are looking right into the driver's eyes. And at the end of Not Cemetery Road, that monster stands up, and you realize that that was not just some kind of wolf or whatever. Anyway, that's the information that I just got last night from the Bumpus Mills area. I find it interesting that this pack mentality, not only while hunting, but they are using it while playing or whatever they were doing. Maybe they were teaching their young, who knows? I also find it interesting, and I do not believe in coincidences, but I find it interesting that just so happens that there's a cemetery right there. There is a water system and a cemetery right within the general vicinity these creatures were at. And we all know how Dogman feels about cemetery. Anyway, guys, this is a perfect example of why you need to stay vigilant of your surroundings, no matter where you are, no matter how many times you've been there, how safe you feel there. There could be that split-second decision, that split-second time that you looked and noticed something that may save your life, or it may cost you your life. So be hyper-vigilant. Do not fall prey to these creatures. They are real. They are hunters. They are at the top of their food chain, at the top of our food chain. If not the top of land-dwelling creatures, pretty close to the top. I'm only saying maybe because Bigfoot, werewolf, whatever. But to me, these things are the apex predator, the hunter of hunters. All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. Your support is what makes this channel continue to grow and go, and honestly, what makes it special. You guys, thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real. They're out there and they are dangerous. Share this information with the people you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.